Welcome to 90 Day Digest, the series where I sit through each week's 90-day episode and break it down so that you don't have to. You'll get all of the drama and none of the wasted time. On tonight's episode, we will be discussing Season 8, Episode 3 of Before the 90 Days, titled Prepare for Takeoff. If you haven't seen my recap for the previous episode, feel free to click the link in the description below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Now, let's get into it. Our first couple of the evening is Laura and Birkan. Laura begins packing for her trip to Turkey and reveals that she has never flown overseas before. She tells us that the situation between her and Michael is giving her anxiety, and she worries that there will come a time where she has to choose between her best friend and the love of her life. We are introduced to Laura's parents, Eileen and Terry, as they arrive to her home in order to drive her to the airport. Laura tells us that her relationship with her parents has become somewhat strained recently due to her relationship with Birkan, citing her parents being more conservative. As they drive to the airport, Eileen expresses her concerns to Laura over just how crazy she believes Laura and Birkan's relationship is, saying, "It's not in my wheelhouse to think this relationship would be something that was possible," and even goes as far as to say that the whole situation seems irresponsible. Laura agrees that her mother Eileen has valid concerns over her and Birkan's relationship, but she says that it isn't enough to scare her away. Laura then tells her parents that Birkan is 20 years younger than her, and they are both completely shocked. I genuinely thought they knew about their age gap before this moment, yet here we are. Eileen then drops the classic 90-day accusation of suspecting that Birkan is looking for a ticket to America, and asks Laura if she has picked up on any obvious, scammy red flags, to which Laura denies, of course. Eileen does not think Laura and Birkan's love is genuine, and proceeds to say that it is simply infatuation, and she will not be convinced otherwise. I guess we will just have to see about that. Laura is basically done with the conversation at this point, and once again tries to validate her mother's concerns, while at the same time trying to move on from the subject altogether. But Eileen is persistent and asks Laura if she believes that her relationship with Birkan will evolve into a lifelong commitment, to which Laura says of course, otherwise she wouldn't be flying out to Turkey in the first place. Laura's father seems more chill, and says that he just hopes that Laura makes the right decision. We love a supportive king. Laura says that she feels blindsided by this conversation, and admits that she did not know that her mother felt this strongly about her and Birkan's relationship. At this point, Laura just goes silent, and Eileen notices her getting upset. As Laura holds back tears, Eileen tells her that she wants to be happy for her, but she can't. They finally arrive to the airport, and Laura says her goodbyes to her parents, as they have one last teary-eyed hug before Laura flies halfway around the world to meet a man half her age. Laura arrives to her gate and awaits her flight. She relaxes the only way she knows how, by reading an adult novel. We zip over to Turkey, where we meet Birkan for the first time this season. We learn that he is into reading books on philosophy, a hobby he picked up after he suffered a career-ending knee injury that ruined his prospects of becoming a professional soccer player, although he still plays for fun sometimes. He says that finding Laura was his destiny, and that her optimism made him believe that dreaming was okay. She was the light in his darkness. These are his words, not mine. He confesses that he told Laura he loved her just 3 weeks into knowing one another. Remember when Eileen was asking Laura if she picked up on any obvious red flags? Birkan goes out for coffee and board games with his two friends, Memo and Tugba. Yes, that really is her name. Memo asks Birkan if his and Laura's 20-year age gap will be an issue for him down the road. Birkan says it is no big deal for him because he has a history of dating older women, essentially confirming that he has a strong attraction towards older women in general. He says he likes older women for their maturity, which is a fair point as long as he doesn't then start talking about wanting to have children, considering it may be too late for Laura. They tease us with a clip of him saying that he has some secrets that he has been keeping from Laura. Although we don't get the full details, he says that after his soccer career ended, he pursued a few business ventures. That inevitably failed. So my guess is that he is in a ton of debt. He also tells us straight up that he intends to end Laura and Michael's friendship. His friends even urge against this, saying they doubt Laura will like that very much. But Birkan does not trust Michael. He is not convinced that Michael sees Laura as just a friend. And if she doesn't cut Michael out of her life, then he doesn't know if their relationship will last. And that is where we leave Laura and Birkan this week. Our next couple of the episode is Aviva and Stig. Aviva is still mid-flight to Belize, so we finally get properly introduced to the man waiting for her. His real name is Erland Dwayne, which frankly sounds like an accountant, but the world knows him as Stig the Artist. Stig wastes no time letting us know he is a very big deal in Belize. He says ladies are all over him at his shows, and claims one fan even tried to get into his pants during a performance. I mean, logically, how does that even work while you're holding a microphone? But okay, Stig, we believe you. We are then introduced to his entourage, Perf, Richie, and Six. Stig tells them about Aviva, explaining that when they started talking 2 years ago, they were both in relationships with other people. So, the foundation of this romance is emotional cheating? Great start. He says he loves Aviva because he doesn't have to be Stig around her, which is sweet, but then immediately pivots to the red flags. He tells the boys he won't stop partying because it's part of his career. He's planning to take Aviva to San Pedro for some shows, a place they literally call Temptation Island.
Oh my God!
Stig insists Aviva isn't the jealous type, but his friends are looking at him like he's crazy, warning him that he does not want her to trip out when she inevitably sees other women hitting on him. But she will. His friend Richie drops the harshest line of the night, saying he only has 20% faith in their relationship. If your best friend gives your relationship a 20% chance of survival, you might be cooked. Cut back to Aviva, who gives us a critical update on the Chinese food. The Panda Express has leaked. It stinks, and she has a giant grease stain on her pants. She is essentially smuggling a biological weapon into Belize at this point. Stig arrives at the airport to pick up Aviva, and immediately a fan runs up to him for a selfie. It felt a little conveniently set up by the producers, to be honest, but hey, maybe he really is the Drake of Belize City. When Stig and Aviva finally meet, they waste no time and begin to exchange spit immediately. Stig's first review? He compliments her big old behind, a true poet. Then, the moment of truth. Aviva presents the bag of lukewarm Chinese food. She reminds him of his promise. He said if she brought him the food, he would marry her. Stig hits her with the "I'm a man of my word" line, but then just doesn't propose. He basically acknowledges the contract and then voids it. Oh well, I guess Aviva will just have to wait. Even though Stig says he will eat the Chinese food, Aviva ends up throwing it in the trash anyway. Rest in peace, Chinese food. It traveled 3,000 miles just to be discarded in a Belizean garbage can. On the ride to the hotel, they pass a massive billboard of Stig advertising wine. Okay, credit where it's due. This guy is actually famous. They get to the hotel room, which looks okay, and immediately hit the bed. But the vibe takes a serious shift. Stig brings up the upcoming concert in San Pedro and assures Aviva he wants her to be there, but Aviva reluctantly admits she's nervous to see him interacting with his female fans. I would be too, girl. Stig then drops a soft ultimatum. When asked what would make him leave her, he says basically, if she can't handle his work and lifestyle, she's out. He wants a family, but he wants to live like a bachelor rock star. Aviva says she wants to respect his lifestyle, but she wants respect in return. Then she says something super concerning. She says she hopes he hasn't been seeing other people while they've been talking, but she shrugs it off like she almost expects him to have been hooking up. Did y'all not set boundaries? Are we exclusive or not? But they decide to save the heavy talks for later. Aviva reveals that she has a second surprise for Stig that isn't stinky food. She changes into some lingerie, hops back into bed, and they start making out in front of the camera crew. And honestly, there was a lot of tongue noises. Stig ends their segments saying, "We'll see if Aviva can handle this lifestyle." Based on the preview and his friend's 20% prediction, I think San Pedro is going to be a disaster. Speaking of disaster, our next couple of the episode is a new couple, Lisa and Daniel. Lisa is 52, and we are introduced to her daughter, Faith, who is the unsung hero of this entire episode. Faith has moved to 15 different schools growing up, and says living with her mom is a roller coaster. After watching this segment, I think roller coaster might be putting it a little lightly. It's more like a tilt-a-whirl that's on fire. Lisa proceeds to drop some heavy lore immediately. She tells us that she has been married 5 times. Faith is from husband number 2, but the kicker? After husband number 3, Lisa realized she was a lesbian. She has been exclusively with women for the last 21 years, but now she is switching teams back to men for Daniel, a 39-year-old living in Nigeria. How did they meet, you might ask? He cold DM'd her. Lisa admits she thought he was a scammer at first, which in all likelihood, her instincts were correct. But he was persistent, so she caved, and now she is head over heels. Production immediately throws us into the deep end with a shopping trip. Lisa drags Faith out to buy some condoms. It's scenes like this that already give off a heavy Angela Deem vibe. Lisa asks the poor bewildered store clerk about which rubbers feel the best, discussing her latex allergy with him, and worrying that Nigeria won't have latex-free options. Then, because the cringe wasn't high enough, she starts crying from embarrassment in the middle of the aisle. Faith idly stands by, praying for this moment to end as soon as possible. We also learn about Lisa's hair situation. Lisa wears wigs 24/7 because an ex made her cut her hair short. Daniel saw her natural hair once, then saw the wig, and said he liked the wig better. So now, she plans to wear a synthetic wig the entire time she is in Nigeria. Ma'am, do you know how hot it is in Lagos? You are going to melt. But the wigs aren't the only thing she's hiding. Lisa has tried to tell Daniel about her lesbian past, but when she hinted at it, he hit her with the religious card, saying he was disgusted. So, naturally, she decides the best time to tell him the full truth is after she flies across the ocean to meet him, because dropping a bombshell on a man who has already expressed disgust is always a safe idea. Later on, Lisa, Faith, and her BFF Juna go to Hibachi, the official sponsor of reality TV public arguments. Faith brings up the facts, which I get the feeling Lisa is allergic to. She points out the love bombing from Daniel and asks Lisa the hard questions about her financial situation. Lisa admits that she sends money for food, clothes, and fuel for Daniel's generator. She claims he's only asked 2 or 3 times, but she sends it anyway, to keep him safe. Faith then reveals Lisa has sent $2,000 in the first 2 months of their relationship alone. Then comes the bombshell. Lisa is broke. Faith exposes that Lisa is in so much debt and even borrows money from her best friend Juna. Juna confirms she literally paid for the visa and the money sent to Daniel. Juna says if he's scamming her, he's scamming me. Juna honey, cancel your cards because you are funding a scam. Faith has had enough. She calls out the delusion, but Lisa hits her with the "you're not in the relationship" card. Faith starts crying, grabs her bag, and leaves the restaurant. And honestly, good for her. Outside the restaurant, we get a heartbreaking moment. Faith tells producers her mom has always invalidated her feelings. When Lisa comes out to console her, Faith demands a promise. Do not marry him on this trip. Lisa promises, saying she isn't a toxic person anymore, but Faith says if she breaks this promise again, she's done. The use of the word again tells us everything we need to know about Lisa's past decision making. They hug it out, but Faith's face says she has 0% confidence in her mother's judgment, and frankly, I reflect that sentiment. So, do we think Daniel is really in love with Lisa? Or is this a classic gaslighting scam type of situation? And is Juna the best friend of all time? Or just a gullible enabler? Let me know in the comments. Our next couple of the episode is Forrest and Sheena. Forrest, Molly, and Dev are landing in the Philippines after a brutal 30-hour travel day. We learn that Sheena has rented a massive apartment for all of them to stay in together. Let me just say, staying in an Airbnb with a woman who has been sending you scolding text messages for months sounds less like a vacation and more like a psychological horror movie. But okay. Sheena is also lugging around a giant jackfruit because apparently it is a local favorite and she wants to share the local foods with Forrest and his family. I've heard it tastes like cotton candy, but I've never actually tried it because it looks weird. Just before they exit the terminal, we get the classic TLC lost passport fake out. Molly can't find her documents. The music gets intense. The editors want us to panic. But listen, we have watched 90 Day Fiancé for a decade at this point. We know the passport is in the purse. It's always in the purse. And sure enough, crisis averted. Forrest runs to the bathroom to freshen up and gives himself a full-on mirror pep talk. He is hyping himself up, fixing the hair, getting the mind right. Honestly, I respect it. After 30 hours on a plane, I would need a pep talk just to locate my luggage, let alone meet the love of my life. Then, they finally meet. After 7 years of talking online, Forrest and Sheena finally touch. They embrace, they cry, and, most importantly, they go in for the big kiss. And you know what? It wasn't awkward. Well, it wasn't that awkward. It was actually really sweet. They seemed comfortable right off the bat. I'm getting serious David and Annie vibes from these two. Just pure chemistry. I think they might actually make it, guys. Then comes the gauntlet. Sheena moves to Molly. They hug, they cry, and Sheena immediately whispers, "I'm sorry," into Molly's shoulder. She is mumbling some other stuff we can't hear, but she is clearly trying to wave the white flag immediately. Her and Dev then have a one-on-one moment as well, and even this stoic guy breaks down. Dev says he doesn't cry often, but he let it out. It was genuine, wholesome. What a moment. And as the cherry on top, we get a 4-person group hug. Molly tells Sheena to just enjoy the moment and be happy they are finally together. For a split second, peace is restored to the galaxy. However, in the confessional, Molly reminds us she is still the final boss. She says, apology aside, we still have stuff to discuss. Translation, the group hug was nice, but don't get comfortable, Sheena. The interrogation begins tomorrow. Our final couple of the episode, and the ones with this week's big cliffhanger, is Rick and Trisha. We pick up the morning after their first night together, and Trisha is spilling all the tea. She looks directly into the camera and tells us they had intercourse twice. She even expresses genuine surprise that Rick was able to perform like that, considering his advanced age. Trisha keeps it real. It's a compliment, but it's also a roast. They decide to head to the local market, and Rick is immediately in hell. He is culture shocked by the lack of refrigeration, the raw meat sitting out, and all the flies. He asks Trisha if she would actually eat brain, and she tells him, yes, of course. Rick looks like he is about to tap dance his way back to the airport right then and there. But instead, they go to a lookout spot over the city. Rick, our resident tap dance instructor, tries to show off some moves, but Trisha completely upstages him. She dances with so much passion that Rick is genuinely impressed. He says he is falling more in love with her every moment. Hold on to that feeling, Rick, because you are about to detonate a grenade in this relationship. Rick sits Trisha down to finally get to the bottom of the 5 days of silence that occurred. He tells her that her previous explanation sounded unbelievable, and he wants the truth. He promises he won't get mad. Trisha repeats the story we heard last week. Her ex was robbed and blamed her as an accomplice. Then, her brother crashed her scooter and injured someone, leading to hospital bills and chaos. She says she didn't pick up the phone because she was overwhelmed and didn't know Rick well enough yet to trust him with all that drama. Honestly, it sounds crazy, but plausible. Now, it's Rick's turn. And folks, listen to this logic. Rick says that when Trisha stopped replying, he believed in his heart that she was cheating on him. So naturally, he reached out to his ex in Colombia, and she told him to come visit. In the span of 5 or so days, this man booked a flight, flew to South America, and met up with his ex. That is not heartbreak. That is a travel agent's miracle. To be totally fair, he said he made the plans to go to Colombia within the 5-day ghost period, but when Trisha resumed contact, he did not cancel his plans to go to Colombia. So does that mean he was still talking to Trisha the whole time he was in Colombia? Did his ex know about Trisha? Was his ex under the impression they were getting back together? So many questions. He admits that he and his ex stayed together for an entire week, and they acted as a couple. The producer asks point blank if he and his ex had intercourse. Rick doesn't just say yes, he says they did it all the time, multiple times a day, every day. Sir, you were not broken up with. You were ghosted for a business week. He claims he did it because he was hurt, but let's be real, he had that ex on speed dial. Trisha hasn't reacted yet in this episode, but when she finds out he went to Colombia on a sex tour because she had a bad week, it is going to be nuclear. Who's in the wrong here? Trisha for ghosting, or Rick for the revenge trip? I think we all know the answer, but tell me in the comments. And that is the breakdown for episode 3. We had unrefrigerated Chinese food, a lesbian to straight conversion that's going poorly, and Rick setting a land speed record for cheating. If you enjoyed this recap, please hit the like button. It helps the channel more than you know. Subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode when we hopefully see Trish destroy Rick. I'll see you there in the next one. Bye!